It has also EIDAS, digital identification, which is essential to protect the human, because if you don't have a digital identity, you don't exist. It has also EIDAS, digital identification, which is essential to protect the human, because if you don't have a digital identity, you don't exist.
Welkom, meneer Roos, meneer Roken. Dit jaar nog lanceert de EU de digitale identiteit. Wat houdt het in en hoe gaat dit de levens van Nederlanders beïnvloeden?
Het gaat enorm veel impact hebben. Het is een vervanging voor je paspoort. Dus je kunt je ermee identificeren. Je laat zien wie je bent. Maar er komt veel meer in. Er komen er ook bankzaken in, tickets, je digitaal patiëntendossier, medische gegevens, vaccinaties, diploma's. Er kan van alles in, veel meer. En we vinden het doodeng en dat gaat eraan komen.
Als ik het zo hoor, denk ik, oh, dat is eigenlijk best handig. Wat is daar dan mis mee?
Ja, waar wij zorgen over maken is dat allerlei handelingen in het dagelijks leven straks niet meer kunnen zonder deze app. En net als bij de corona-app, die werd op een gegeven moment ook verplicht om toegang te krijgen tot grote delen van de samenleving. Dreigt dit ook de toekomst te worden van deze digitale identiteit? Je kan het vergelijken met cookies op internet. Vaak werken websites alleen maar optimaal als je alle cookies accepteert. Ook de niet noodzakelijke cookies. En dat is wat overheden en bedrijven, grote bedrijven dan met name, ook gaan doen. Ze gaan om meer gegevens vragen dan waar ze nu recht op hebben. En dat holt de privacy uit en maakt de burgers machtelozer ten opzichte van de staat en grote bedrijven. En natuurlijk is het handig als je in het buitenland een auto kunt huren zonder dat je allerlei formulieren invult. Maar dat vrij kleine voordeel, dat weegt gewoon niet op tegen het verlies van vrijheid en privacy.
Ursula von der Leyen, de voorzitter van de commissie, heeft vorig jaar ook heel duidelijk aangekondigd dat ze dit als een enorm goede oplossing ziet. Zodat je hier met gebruik maken van de European Digital Identity in kunt loggen op online diensten zoals Google, Facebook, etc. Wat iedereen natuurlijk doet die af en toe online is. Dat betekent dat je centraal geïdentificeerd kunt worden. Maar dat betekent ook dat je heel makkelijk afgesloten kunt worden van deze diensten. En ik vind het een doodenge ontwikkeling. We houden dit heel erg in de gaten en we proberen toch te zorgen dat dit er niet gaat komen.
For those who think the Great Reset is not going to control every aspect of your life, let me give you a couple of things. They are now taking the next step to shape global, regional, and industry agendas, end quote, with a new digital ID system. Under the framework, the WEF proposes collecting data from many aspects of people's everyday lives. That's a quote. Through their devices, telecommunication networks, and third-party service providers. The WEF suggests that this data collection dragnet would allow a digital ID. Now listen to this, it's very narrow. It would allow a digital ID to scoop up data on people's online behavior, purchase history, network usage, credit history, biometrics, names, national identity numbers, and medical history. Plus your travel history, social accounts, e-government accounts, bank accounts, energy uses, health stats, education, and I love this one, and more. What's left? Once the digital ID has access to this huge, highly personal set of data, the WEF proposes using it to decide whether users are allowed to, quote, own and use devices, quote, open bank accounts, quote, carry out online financial transactions, quote, conduct business transaction, quote, access insurance and treatment, book trips, still quoting, go through border control between countries or regions, still quoting, access third-party services that rely on social media logins, file taxes, vote, collect benefits, end quote. So, you know that passport that they gave you? It was so crazy to think that maybe that COVID passport might grow into something, exactly like this.
Порабощение. На самом деле речь идет о следующем. Сегодня ситуация колонизации порабощения заменилась технологическим порабощением. Раньше вы это делали с помощью военной силы, а сегодня вы делаете это технологически. Я вам приведу простой пример. Интернет. Что такое интернет? Это цифровой ГУЛАГ в чистом виде, но только в отличие от ГУЛАГа, куда людей хватали, помещали за колючую проволоку и охраняли, сюда эти люди все пришли сами. Они сами пришли в этот цифровой ГУЛАГ и очень комфортно там живут. Если человеку объяснили, что все написано в Википедии, учиться не надо, и все есть в интернете, то дальше мы выстраиваем общество из людей, которых простая вещь, я рубильник вырубил и отрезал головы этим всем людям.
And in moments, why did Bill Gates just give $200 million toward the production of international digital IDs?
The one about tracking people, I don't know why they think I'm interested in knowing, people's locations. That one I still have to laugh at.
Laugh away, Chuckles. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation just announced an investment of just $200 million to expand global digital public infrastructure. Well, what exactly does that mean? Well, the expansion of international digital IDs, among other things. A recent piece from Wired explains why this is so concerning. Author Brett Solomon says digital IDs pose one of the gravest risks to human rights of any technology that we've encountered. There's the capacity for geolocation of identifiers, that is, the tracking of digital you in real time.
Digital identity is not just a passport that you will have on your iPhone in a digital form. It entails just about everything the government would like to know about you. And yesterday in the Dutch media, we saw a perfect example of what it could entail in the near future. We had the CEO of one of the largest Dutch banks say, why don't we start with a personal carbon credit? Oh. A carbon wallet, she called it, actually. Yeah. So right in line with the plans that the World Economic Forum people have for us. And she said it in a way that was particularly funny. She said, well, if everyone gets an individual personal carbon credit, why don't we make it so that rich people who, for example, want to go on holiday a little too often can buy personal carbon credit from other people who, for example, can't afford buying plane tickets or eating meat too often. So we can that way swap it out.
Oh, so if Bill Gates or Leonardo DiCaprio's carbon footprint is getting a bit too big, then some peasant living in his hovel up country somewhere can sell his, and he can't afford to go to Saint-Tropez, but he'll be able to sell his carbon allowance to Leonardo DiCaprio so Leonardo can park his yacht in Saint-Tropez for a couple of extra days.
Exactly right. That's it. So what will happen is the rich will get richer, the poor will get poorer, and they're saying it openly as if it's not a controversial thing at all. It's neo-feudalism. That's what it is. And they don't mind. It's just, okay. Then they said, well, it's just a thought experiment, because obviously a lot of people were kind of upset about this communist ideal that they just presented to the people on TV as a good idea. They said, oh no, it's a thought experiment. Well, we've heard that before. Yeah, we've had too many thought. But it was interesting to see. As you were talking, we saw that banker. She was being interviewed on a Dutch radio show, and she got a little too relaxed, and actually, as they say in America, said the quiet part out loud. You're not actually meant to. You're not actually meant. There she is. She's chatting in the radio studio, and she just gets a little carried away. And we went to announce. Now there's a bank vice president in Canada. I think it was the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, which is one of the biggest banks in Canada, said pretty much the same thing and sold it on. This is going to be so convenient because all your information will be centrally located. So we can save the planet. We're just going to keep track of how many miles you do in your car, whether you've taken one too many vacations in the Greek islands, if you're eating too many cheeseburgers. It'll all be centrally located, and that will make it all the more convenient for you. Yeah, and they're being honest, so they're exposing their true agenda, because obviously the best way to get to a modern person's heart is to say that it's convenient for them. So yes, you won't have to carry all your different papers and your passports, but the downside of it is, and I hope hope that people will start to see this, that the government can shut you down.
Yeah.
So you know, if you want to buy a burger, red screen, no mark, not for you. That flight, not for you. Oh, but you can just buy it if you have enough money, right? So they're being very open and honest to what their goal is here. So we should take their words seriously and say, hell no. And instead, this woman going off on radio and saying exactly what she thinks. Now, we had backlash, right? So people were upset about it, but she's invited on national television tonight. So in an hour, she'll be sitting there talking about this great thought experiment. And then suddenly it's part of the debate. And it's accepted. Whereas I would say we should cancel these communists immediately and say, get the hell out of my private life. I'm not having you track me and decide what I eat and where I go.